Mydworth Mysteries, Episode 11, Fool's Gold. Written by Matthew Costello and Neil Richards. Narrated by Nathaniel Parker.
Chapter 1. Last Call. Ewan Mackay, sitting at a table by himself in a corner of the Crown and Anchor, looked around the pub. Busy night, it being Friday, and many of the lads having been paid, drinking and laughing, as if they'd never have to face another tough day on the farm, or a cold early morning out at sea. Pick your poison, Ewan thought. These jobs were dead-end, just hard work and sweat, leading nowhere. Whereas he, as he'd thought so many times, already on a completely different path. His future? Bright and beckoning. But he had other things to think about. The present, not the future. He took a sip of his beer and scanned the crowded pub. Yes, there she was. Pushing through the throng on the far side of the bar, a tray tucked under her arm, a young woman with, yes, sad eyes. The reason for Ewan coming to this rough and rowdy pub tonight rather than any of the others that dotted Littlehampton, Sally Mason. He had asked her name a few visits earlier, and now she also looked over at him, as she moved from table to table, gathering empty glasses and stacking them on her tray. A gentle, sweet smile. Those beautiful eyes. Were they a dark green? Looked around the room. She was careful with that glance, with her husband, Clyde Mason the publican, manning the beer pumps only yards away. Ewan guessed that this bruiser of a man, tall, with bulky arms that were more than a match for a night's endless pulls on those pumps, wasn't aware of how lonely his wife was looking, standing there in the crowded pub. Ewan watched as Sally's husband left the bar, went over to the table behind his wife, and banged on it with his fist, startling her. Then he actually grabbed her upper arm, yanking her round. No one, it seemed, dared watch but Ewan. With a nod of his boulder-like head, Clyde rammed a cloth into her hand and indicated that she should get those damn tables wiped down as soon as the glasses were out of the way. Ewan knew that Sally was trapped here, cleaning, wiping, washing. The glasses, the tables, the floors, an endless round. What a life. Tonight he felt that loneliness, that lost look in her eyes even more than he had ever done before. Didn't the publican treat her like that? Too much, Ewan thought. So when Sally took the glasses back to the bar and returned to the tables with a cloth, ignoring the drunken comments from some of these late-night drinkers, all that roused Ewan to do something this night that he hadn't done before. The pub was still thick with working men downing their pints. What he was about to do might go unnoticed. He stood up and walked over to Sally as she cleaned. Her eyes widened as he slipped close to the table she was cleaning and leaned against a pillar. "Well, I must say, Sally, isn't it? You look more bored tonight than I've ever seen you look." Sally shrugged. "Just a Friday night, same as ever. All the lads putting it away." "I can see that," Ewan said, smiling. "Though I think with last orders at any minute, it'll be hard to get them all to clear out." Ewan kept his eyes on Sally. this chat about to get risky. "Saw your husband just now." "What he did? You know, it shouldn't be that way." Sally seemed confused by the statement. "What do you mean, that way?" "Treating you like he owns you. Grabbing hold of you like, 'Shh, quiet.' What do you think you're saying?" Ewan paused. "You don't deserve this life. With him. No one does." Then he hazarded a guess. "Bet you'd like to leave. Have I got that right? Maybe even right now. Just go away somewhere. Anywhere." She took a moment, then nodded. Ewan had guessed right. But then, reality. "I have to work. Don't have a choice. Cleaning's got to be done tonight. Can't be left till morning." "Well, I won't lie. I've been watching you, him, and if you ever need someone to just talk to, I can listen. You should be listened to." He meant it. The situation made him angry. In this day and age, bullish husbands had no place. "You deserve better than this, Sally." Sally hesitated, then shook her head as if the whole idea that there might be a different way for her to live her life was just too much to imagine. And then Ewan saw Sally's eyes drift to her right, then up. As luck or fate would have it, Ewan guessed who had just appeared behind him. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" The accent was as thick as one could imagine for a mix of working man Sussex and local seaside mumble. Ewan saw that those same arms that had been working the beer pumps were now folded across his chest, on display. Meaty-looking things, Ewan thought. "Just having a little chat, that's all. You were a bit rough with her before, eh, old chap? A big fella like you? That's not right." Ewan hesitated about his next words, but then, what the hell? "Sally here. Maybe she deserves better than spending her life in a smoky pub with you, ordering her around." Ewan looked down to Sally, whose face now showed only horror, making Ewan think, should I be more worried about this than I am? And when he turned back to Clyde to see how their next exchange might go, he saw instead a thick fist flying right at him. No time to duck, bob or weave or any of that stuff he'd learned at his university boxing classes. No, that fist landed squarely and hard on the side of Ewan's mouth, knocking him to the ground. His fall backwards, broken by a few of the men who had gathered close, their anticipation high. A pub fight at hand. Ewan could feel a wetness, his lip open, bleeding. His head wasn't feeling too good either. He got to his feet as quick as he could. He saw, out of the corner of his eye, Sally glare at her husband. This, maybe not the first such encounter she had witnessed. Then she disappeared towards the side door of the pub, past the lounge bar used by ladies who liked their beer as well. So now it was just him and this burly bear of a man, Clyde Mason, who'd caught him, no contesting that point, talking to his wife, telling her to think maybe about getting away. Man has a reasonable case, Ewan thought, but such largesse and understanding now needed to be replaced with a more primal urge, self-defense. Ewan raised his fists and, wasting no time, sent a few punches flying back at Clyde. That first volley mostly not landing, save one that made a solid hit on Clyde's brick-like left shoulder. Not enough to send the man down, but the publican did stagger back some. A real fight engaged. But now Clyde unleashed his arms for full battle. Ewan realized that if another blow from one of them landed anywhere near his head, that would definitely not be good. They kept throwing punches as the men around them shouted until someone came and stood between them. A wiry man, as lean as Clyde was bulky. "Clyde, copper's coming. I'd call time. Come on now." Then the wiry man, no acquaintance that Ewan knew, looked at him. "And you?"